Hey everyone, welcome back to Loot Code. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll try and build something called a desktop Notifier application. So I'll be using this BBC RSS feed and I'll try to get some notifications on my desktop by writing this application. So if I run my application, ideally I should receive notifications on my desktop. If you observe here, right? So I am receiving some notification from the internet about headlines. So right now I have set for every 15 seconds I'll receive a new headline. You see there's a new headline over here, but the frequency can be changed in the code. So let's go ahead and build this desktop notifier application. Okay, to begin with, I have given the algorithm. Okay, so we have 6 steps, 6 main steps. We'll have, of course, sub steps, and let's start building our application with step 1. Even before that, let me create a few files. I'll call the first one topnews.py. So in this file, we will take care of these first 5 steps. Okay, we will define our RSS feed, and then we'll load our RSS feed, and then we'll parse the XML. We'll get into what XML is, and then we'll fetch the headlines. Everything will be done here, and the main execution will be done in another file called notifier.py. Yeah. So that's where the main execution will happen, where we will call the top stories, and top stories, like, we're going to import it, and then we will notify on our desktop. So let's go ahead and start coding. So first we will program on our top news file. Okay, so step 1 says import libraries. So it says import requests xml.etree.ElementTree. These two will not be required now. We'll import these in the other file. Okay, so let's import requests. So what requests does is it's a library which can help us use the HTTP methods. In the sense, we can use the get, post, fetch, delete, delete, put methods on the internet, right? Import requests. Hey everyone, just before you start, I had forgotten a simple step. Before importing requests, you have to run this command with install requests. Run this command, right? For me, I had already installed it, but run this command, and if required, create the virtual environment. I would advise it. Yeah. So before importing requests, this is one step that you have to follow. And then import xml.etree.ElementTree as et. All right. Next, we will define the RSS feed URL. Let me bring this here. Okay, RSS feed URL is equal to, so this is the link, Control C, Control V. So you observe this .xml, right? So XML is basically a file type which has a lot of data, right? For example, I have data.xml here to demonstrate what I'm talking about. It's similar to HTML, where we have tags, and then there's data encapsulated in between these tags. And to retrieve data from this, we have to parse through this file, and that's what our xml.etree.ElementTree module is going to help us do. Okay. So now we'll write a function called load RSS, def load RSS. I will define a variable called response. Res is equal to requests.get. So we are getting this. This is a HTTP method, get, and then we'll pass the URL RSS feed. And just to display or demonstrate what we're going to get if we do this, right? Let me print response.content, in the sense the content that I'm going to get when I perform this HTTP method requests.get, and let me call the function load RSS. So if I run this, you will observe a lot of data just here, right? So this is what I copied and pasted here in a formatted way. So this is an XML file. This is what we're getting from that link when we get it, when we use the get method. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to parse through this and get our headlines. So for that, I'm going to write a new function now. Let me clear the terminal, CLS. All right, so instead of printing res.content, I will do return res.content. Okay, next I will define the function parse XML, and this will take a parameter RSS. So whatever XML is being returned from this URL, I will pass it to this function. The first condition that I'll check here is if RSS is none, then I'll simply return an empty list. I'll explain why I'm returning a list in a few more steps. So before that, let's write a try block. Here we will define something called the root. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to convert the XML into an element tree object. So et.formString is the method that I'll use, and I'll pass RSS. Okay, and then we have our except et.parseError as e, print maybe error, yeah, error parsing XML and e. That should do it. Now I will create an empty list, or I'll initialize a variable called news items and then initialize it with an empty list. So what we're trying to do here is we will parse through the XML data, we will collect our necessary information as objects and then append those objects into this news items list. So if whatever RSS XML has been sent from this function is none, we will just simply return an empty list. We will return an empty list here as well. Return an empty list if there is an error. So that's why we have this variable called news items, and we will iterate through all the items inside the XML, convert them into objects, and then append them into this list. All right, so now I'll run a for loop for item in root dot find all item. So root is going to be the root element, right, in this XML document, and then we are trying to iterate through something called item. So if you observe this XML document, we have item here, here, here. So we have a lot of items, right? So we will iterate through them, and we will get the necessary data that we want to pass to the next function to show us a notification. Okay, so yeah, while iterating through the items, we want to make them into objects, right? So news is equal to, I will initialize it with an empty dictionary. Then I will run another for loop for child in item if child.tag is equal to, if I go to data.xml, I have something called the namespace. Yeah, this is the namespace. Control C, Control V, and this is called the tag content. So this condition, what I'm trying to do here is, if you observe the item tag, inside the item tag we have something called media. Okay, so this comes under something called mRSS, which is media RSS, and I cannot pass through this particular tag just like any other tag, right? I have to treat this as mRSS, and for that I need to associate this with the namespace, which is this, and the tag, which is this, right? So that's what this condition is trying to check, and if that is true, then news of media is equal to child.attrib.get URL. So news is the dictionary, and we will have the key called media, and the media will have the URL, right? If you observe item here, this URL, we will try to get this URL using the HTTP method .get. So URL is the attribute, so that's what we did. Child, item is the parent, media is the child, and URL is the attribute. So child.attribute.get this URL. So that's what we're trying to do. URL. Else I will print, so this will help in debugging. Let me print an f string, f tag is equal to child.tag, and text is equal to child.text. Yeah, and now if child.text exists, then news of child.tag is equal to child.text.encode with UTF-8. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to convert it into a byte string. If I am parsing through the data here, I want to print the title and the text associated with this title to observe how I'm parsing the item. So let me execute this function, only this function, after appending this body into the news items. So I will only execute this function to demonstrate what's happening with the tag and the text. All right, so else news of child.tag is equal to an empty byte string. Yes. Now news items dot append with news, and I will return news items. Okay, so if you haven't understood this particular block of code, it would make more sense if I execute only this function. So first I will initialize a variable called RSS, and then call the load RSS function, and then I'll call the Parse XML function and pass RSS into that. So if I run the code now, yeah, if you observe, we have a lot of data with, so this is basically me parsing the data. Tags is title, text is all Southport victims. So this is a headline, right? So if you go here, it's something like this. So there's item, there's title. Title has text, right? It's not the same here, but you can observe I'm parsing through this XML data. Inside item, I have the tag called title, and the text associated with the tag is this. And then I have description here, and then the text associated with that is this. And then I have something called link here, and the text associated with that is like this. So I have to debug, or for my own convenience, I have printed the parsing process, how I'm parsing the data here, and then how I am appending it into the news items list. So I'll remove this now, and so next I'll write the function to you know, call all these above util functions or utility functions, and I'll write a return statement in the end so that we can export this data into notifier.py and then use it to notify on our desktop. So def top stories, and here I will first load the RSS data. So load RSS, and then news items is equal to parse XML, and I'll pass RSS to that, and I'll simply return news items. Yes, that should do it. So now we can start working on the notification part, or how to send notifications onto the desktop. So let's go to notifier.py. So I hope you've understood this file where we have first loaded the XML data, right? We have used the HTTP method request.get, and then we have got some data from this feed, which is this URL, and then we have returned the response, which is some garbage XML data, and then in this function we have parsed through that data, and then we have appended them into a list as a list of dictionaries, and then together we are sending it to the next file, which is notifier.py. I hope this gives a little bit of clarity on what we are doing until now. Now coming to notifier.py, let's go to our algorithm file, and here it says main execution. First, okay, so before printing a message indicating the fetching of news items, we have to import these modules and packages, right? So let's do that first and come back to the algorithm. We have to go to notifier.py. So I will import time, and now to import plier, you'd have to run this command pip install plier. So I have already installed this, so you have to run this command. So after running this command, you'll be able to import plier. So we need something called notifications. So from plier, import notification. Yeah, and one more thing we would need is this function, right? We need this top stories function. So from top news, import top stories. All right, now let's go back to algorithm.txt, and here it says print a message indicating the fetching of news items. Okay, so we can print fetching news items, and then news items is equal to, we will call the function top stories. Then we can also see how many headlines are being called every time I do the request.get. So let me show you how many headlines I'm fetching, right? So print an f string saying maybe, you know, fetched length of news items headlines fetched. Yeah, so if I run this, so we have fetched 44 headlines when I did the get method here, request.get. So it parsed, and then it sent this news items list to my notifier.py, and then I have called this top stories function, and then I've got, you know, 44 headlines. So let's go and notify our desktop now with these headlines, right? Okay, so I will run a for loop. I think I've mentioned this in the algorithm. So yeah, for each news item, extract the title and description fields. So if you can observe, in the item we have title and description. So we can get that. For news item, in news items, title is equal to news item dot get title and description equals news item dot get description. Now these might be in these might be byte strings, so I want them to be encoded into UTF-8 encoding. So for that, if is instance title bytes, then title is equal to title dot decode UTF-8. Similarly with if is instance description bytes description is equal to description dot decode it to UTF-8. Now we can do our notification. This will be inside the for loop itself. Notification dot notify. Title is the title itself. Then we have a message, which is going to be the description, and then app name is going to be from which app are you getting these notifications from, so that your computer if the notifications is off, right, you can go to the settings and check from which app you're getting these notifications from, and then debug that or troubleshoot it when the notifications are off. So I'll call this maybe news notifier, and timeout, how many seconds do I want my notification to be on the screen? Timeout maybe 10 seconds, and then time dot sleep will be 15. So this is after every 15 seconds this process will happen where I'll get a notification on my desktop. So we are ready to test this out. Now I think I'll run my code. So there you go. I have my notification here. This is the title and this is the description. This is the this is the notification that we were trying to get, and in 10 seconds this will go. If you observe here, we have fetched 44 headlines. So I'm waiting for the next headline, which is not, so after 15 seconds I have my next headline here. So my desktop notifier app is successfully running, right? So you can see you have another notification here. So there you go. We have built our desktop notification app, which is sending us news notifications. I hope you enjoyed building this application with me. If you did so, please hit the subscribe button and do give me a thumbs up. Keep coding, keep learning. Goodbye.